Yes, the Democrats really are panicking. They are afraid that Trump is going to win because Kamala Harris is so unpopular. And that's a wonderful, wonderful thing to see. They even brought out Barack Obama to chastise black men for not supporting her. They are desperate. They are panicking. They don't know what to do. That don't mean don't go out and vote. Please make sure you go out and vote. Because they're gonna still try some type of shenanigans to try to pull this off to try so they can win. So we have to overwhelmingly sweep Camilla at the polls. So please go out and vote. Just because they're panicking and they're desperate, don't mean they won't try any shenanigans like we've seen before. So we're gonna talk a little bit about it. We're gonna show some clips, but before we get started, go ahead and hit that like button, share this out so we can get this information out there. Subscribe if you're not already a subscriber, and hit that alarm bell so you know when I'm putting out new stuff. Also, check out my link tree in the description. It has a link to my Patreon. That's where I talk about things that I can't talk about here. Also, follow me on X and Patreon as well. All right, so let's talk about this news. Now, this comes from Hot Air from David Strom. And he reports that, no, I'm not going to make a red wave argument. And I'm not either. Because, like I said, we know they're going to bring some shenanigans. He said, I got caught up in the excitement in 2022 and got burned. It happens, but it shouldn't happen to me. I agree. Kamala Harris can win, but you don't have to be able to read the entrails of chickens or the scatterings of tea leaves to see that the campaign is panicking, and rightly so. It is obvious to the meanest intelligence. Glenn Greenwald said, imagine how alarming internal DNC polling must be for them to run its first ever attack ads on Jill Stein. Like, that's how desperate they are. They're attacking the third party person. They're attacking the third party. She getting some ricochet from what's going on because they're so desperate. But he goes on to say they assume Arab Muslim and leftists will snap in the line and do what they're told, no matter how much contempt Dems heaped on them. Not everyone is a liberal YouTuber. That's true. Like, even the Muslims are like, you know what? Especially in like in a Michigan where they have a huge Muslim population, they're like, you know what? Forget that. We're done with the Democrat Party. They no longer have our vote. I mean, a bunch of them. So here's the attack ad on Jill Stein. Oops, hold on. I have to go to
Green.
Oops. Give me a second here. All right, here we go.
Jill Stein, Green Party candidate for president. So why are Trump's close allies helping her? Stein was key to Trump's 2016 wins in battleground states. She's not sorry she helped Trump win. That's why a vote for Stein is really a vote for Trump.
Jill Stein, I like her very much. You know why? She takes 100% from them.
I'm Kamala Harris, and I approve this message.
That's how desperate they are. That's how desperate they are. They got to attack third party. That's when you know things are really bad. Kamala Harris's only hope are that, one, women voters overperform so dramatically that their numbers offset the substantial loss of support in union voters, men, minorities, and generally sane people. I don't know if that's going to happen. Two, that just enough people cannot stomach a return of Donald Trump to the Oval Office that they will hold their nose and vote for her despite her manifest flaws. I really don't see that happening either. If you're doing well, you don't run attack ads on marginal candidates, and the DNC, and marginal is putting it lightly, and the DNC is doing it despite never having done so before, ever. Almost nobody knows Jill Stein is running, but the Democrats are so worried that they're looking for votes under couch cushions. Mark Halpern has been around the block a few times as a political reporter and is the guy who first reported days before Biden got out of the race that the decision to cede the nomination took place. His sources are impeccable, and he and his Democrat and Republican analysts all agree that Harris is in deep trouble. Let's play what he has to say here.
All right, let's look at some other stuff. Wall Street Journal this morning popped some battleground state polls. Let's look at them together, shall we? All right. So Trump up in Arizona, up in Georgia, up in Michigan, high North Carolina. Trump up large size in the Silver State. Trump up 1 in Pennsylvania, tied in Wisconsin. All margin of error stuff, right? Here's something that's going on in the polling now, which we've kind of talked around, but we haven't hit it as hard as I'm about to. Trump is overperforming in the Rust Belt, but he's underperforming in the Sun Belt. And this is the best news for Kamala Harris right now in terms of the only thing that really matters, the Electoral College, which is she's got multiple paths now, right? She's got some Sun Belt paths. She can't be shut out in the Rust Belt. Next slide, please, to look at the Journal on issues. And the Journal poll tells a story we've been living with for weeks now. Trump is doing better on issues that are most important to people, particularly the economy and immigration. But Harris is still right in the fight because she's strong on some other secondary and tertiary issues and abortion.
How is she winning on housing affordability? I have no clue. I have absolutely no clue. Cares about people like you. What? You think she cares about you? She puts everyone ahead of Americans. Wow. And the healthcare thing, you know, she wanted free healthcare and all that stuff, so that's why she's winning that. But I don't understand how she's winning care about people like you and housing affordability.
Rights is important, and they don't like Trump's personality and all those issues, January 6th, etc. All right, guys, John.
January 6th, only 6% of the population cares about January 6th. So that means 94% of voting citizens do not care anything about January 6th. So I don't know why they keep bringing that up.
What is your view of the Journal poll and polling currently?
Look at that smile right here. Wow.
Of the Journal poll, I don't think it's a surprise in that the issues that we thought made sense still make sense. Immigration, economy are still the top issues, and we've known that. And then we've also known that these states are largely within the margin of error, but we felt I'm still a little skeptical of the Sun Belt issue. I was surprised to see Trump doing better in North Carolina because of concerns I have about the polling in North Carolina. But that being said, nothing that I saw shocked me. I was out last night. There was a big Trump alumni event for Trump last night. Chris LaCivita came in, spoke to it, and he was just the mood about the internal polls. He was willing to share them. I mean, this kind of harkens back to what we were talking about yesterday. Generally, you don't get into details. He was telling a story about how Trump called up in the morning. He was giddy about some of the internals and really wanted to get the word out. That type of enthusiasm doesn't happen when you're on your heels, right? You don't get up and start saying, let me tell everybody what we're seeing inside. I've been part of winning campaigns and losing campaigns over the last 30 years. Like last night, people were lining up to pay to come in. I mean, the excitement among Republicans is that the wind is at our back right now. And I think that's a good thing. And I know the polls are a little close and that's why, but the momentum's with Team Trump right now. And that's a good place to be 25 days out.
So just to be clear or something, which I think I was clear about, but when I've reported over the last several days about private polling, that is not Republican-only private polling. It is, as Dan said, it's reflected in the Democratic private polling, too. In fact, I think if you ask the Harris campaign and they would tell you about their polling, you'd hear a similar story. This is not spin by Republicans about secret or fake polls. This is what is happening in the data. And as we've said repeatedly, the public and private data differs. The public data is cheap and has issues in almost every case. It's just the nature of the beast now for academic and media organizations. Not everyone, but most. So Nate Silver, who I don't believe has ever covered a presidential campaign and is good at averaging numbers, did a long piece making the case that, in fact, the public polls are better than the private polls, and that the extent that people talk about private polls, it's all made up spin that's done to trick reporters and please clients. So, guys, is Nate Silver right?
Absolutely not.
Can I just say one fundamental thing that I want people?
I believe the private polls are the most accurate polls because those are the ones that they're giving to the candidates, so to know where they actually are. The public polls are for public consumption, so people can spin narratives and stuff like that.
People to understand whether you're doing a public poll or you're the most partisan private poller, no professional pollster will ever skew a poll. They might ask certain questions, and again, a large of it, largely it's client based. So the client will say, "I want you to test this," or "I want you to test this," or "I want to change the screen on this." But a pollster is like any other professional. You will not undermine your credibility and your professionalism. And last, I'm not saying no one's ever done it, but you won't sustain your credibility in the industry if you throw yourself under the bus. And so sometimes people will say, well, that's from, pick McLaughlin or Public Opinion Strategies or Terrence. These are all Republican pollsters. And so I don't trust. These guys are top-notch pros. And they're never going to undermine their credibility for the sake of a headline or a story. And I want people to understand that. And the same's true on the Democratic side. Celinda Lake and all these guys, they're good at what they do, and they would never throw away their credibility.
And just as they would not throw away their credibility, I am not taking some pollster I've never heard of and saying, here's their numbers. I'm relying on people who I've known and covered for years, and I know that they have the exact same the professionalism that you described. Right. So that's different than what Nate Silver's talking about.
Right. No. And I'm saying this because, but I want people to understand who what we're talking about. No one is going to do that. But I'm reading some of the chat. We talked about this yesterday. The mainstream guys will take the cheapest route, right? Which is going to get you the not the best result most of the time. And we've talked about this ad nauseum. The private guys are using this to make million dollar decisions. There is no way public polling is better. It defies logic.
Well, and that's the thing I was going to say is if you're a candidate running for office, you want the best numbers. It is your job. You want to win.
Right. Yeah.
So you seek out people, and they are being paid to give honest results, to make decisions, to win elections. They're not sitting there, skewing everything to make, to have happy talk internally. That's how pollsters ruin the reputation and get fired. Yeah. They are better because this is what they do for a living, and the candidates are seeking out the best to win elections.
And just to be clear, I'm
going to leave it there with that one, but I agree. So these polls, especially the internal ones, they call private polling, I think is more accurate because the person that's asking for this, that's paying for this, want accuracy. So, but Democrat Senate candidates have sounded the alarm about Harris's vulnerability, and the only reason the campaign shifted the strategy from hiding from the media to the blitz was that her campaign needed a reboot. That the hiding wasn't working, so now she has to come out. But the problem is with that, people get to see her more and more, and they can see her incompetence. They can see how dumb she really is. That's the downside of her parading her out now all of a sudden. But Harris's campaign is in collapse, which ironically means that she will lose a point or 3 in the polls. Voters for Kamala are so anti-Trump that they will never vote for him. So a collapse for Harris will be fewer voters holding their noses and voting for her. The very slow creep downward is evident in the polls, but her floor is high due to the hatred of Trump. The media blitz was supposed to help, but Harris is so awful, like I was alluding to, that it has, if anything, hurt her. And putting her out there unscripted is not an alternative. Steve Cortez, he posted on X, he said, "This is brutal to watch. Kamala Harris without a teleprompter is the Democrat Party's worst nightmare." So let's play this clip.
So when we think about what's at stake in this election, whoa, it's packed with some stuff.
Oh my God.
It's so packed with some fundamental stuff.
Look at her face.
I say rather articulately.
That is so cringe. And she know it came off cringe. And then she said, I said so articulately. I mean, that's so weird. She is so weird. But Harris has $1 billion to play with. And the only use to which it could be productively put is in get out of the vote efforts or Go TV. Her ads suck. Her pitch sucks. Her platform is non-existent, and she can't campaign worth a damn. She hurts herself every time she opens her mouth. Haven't that what I've been saying, y'all? So the campaign is panicking, and rightly so. Harry Hinton, he said, why are Democrats bedwetting? The race is closer than it was 3 weeks ago in Michigan, Pennsylvania, and Wisconsin. Way too close to call in all three. Also, Harris is doing 6 point worse on average in them than Biden at this point in 2020. Remember, we got to remember, Trump got more votes than any Republican in history in 2020. 4 years later, he's even more popular today. I said 2022. Now he's even more popular. He's more popular today than he was when he ran last time. Yeah, it is 2020. I'm tripping, y'all. Sorry. When he ran in 2020. But let's play this clip. Let's play this clip here.
What is with all of this bedwetting among Democrats? Maybe it's an eternal problem, but let's take a look here. These are, of course, the Great Lake battleground states, the states we've been focusing in on. If Kamala Harris wins these three, she most likely gets to 270 electoral votes. Take a look 3 weeks ago. Harris was ahead by 2 in Pennsylvania, 2 in Wisconsin, 3 in Michigan. Look at where we are today. The race is even tighter than it was. Today, it's a 1 point advantage in Pennsylvania, 1 in Wisconsin, 1 in Michigan. Look, that's limited movement, but in a year in which this race has been so static, if we're talking 1 point movement, 1 point movement, 2 point movements, and we see movements in all three, this is the type of thing that, at least in the public polling, makes Democrats worried, and I think that the public polling in this case is reflected in some of that internal polling, some of that reporting that suggests that these Great Lake battleground states have certainly tightened a lot, where at this point they are way too close to call.
It is what you call a trend.
It is
when
a
you
trend.
See something like this over several states. When you compare this to 4 years ago, what does it look like?
Yeah, so let's take a look, and we're going to look at an average across these 3 states, right? Michigan, Pennsylvania, and Wisconsin, an average on October 11th. What do you see? Well, if you look 8 years ago, Hillary Clinton was way out in front in an average of these 3. She was up by 8. You go 4 years ago, Joe Biden was up by an average of 7 points across these 3 Great Lake battleground states. You come today, it's just a 1 point advantage for Kamala Harris across these 3 Great Lake battleground states. So Kamala Harris, at least in the polling, is doing considerably worse than Biden or Clinton. And of course, Clinton lost in all 3 of these states, and Joe Biden barely won in all 3 of these states. So when you see Harris up by just a point across these 3, I think that this is really the type of thing that gets Democrats really to worry, John, because the simple fact is Kamala Harris is doing considerably worse than either Biden or Clinton was.
Yeah, at this number, what you start hoping for is somehow that the polls
are actually right this time around?
Are right this time and doing a better job, and that's a little bit of a thin reed to base your hope on. There may be some other reasons in general why Democrats are more worried.
Yeah, so I think it just comes down to the fact that Democrats are more worried about a Donald Trump presidency than Trump supporters are about a Kamala Harris presidency. So angry if the opposing candidate wins. 52% of Harris voters say they'd be angry if Donald Trump won, versus just 42% of Trump voters who say they'd be angry if Kamala Harris was. So I think this is more of a bigger, larger picture. It's not just that the polls are...
That is a huge reach when you have to start talking about emotions. Not the economy, not the border, not any of this stuff. You had to come down to emotions. This tells you they really are getting spanked in every single measurement when it comes to how people feel about what's going on now, or what people believe or think. They're going to emotions. I've never heard of this before.
are tightening. I think it's just that Democrats, John, are more worried in general about a Donald Trump presidency than the reverse in this particular situation.
Harry Etten, thank you very much.
Thank you, my friend.
They had to reach for that one. But Republicans, though, should not be popping the champagne corks because, frankly, our candidate is Trump. I am not critiquing Trump by recognizing that, merely noting that a lot of people hate Trump with the passion exceeding the temperature of a supernova. That gives Harris a floor and Trump a ceiling. That may be wrong and irrational, but it's a real phenomenon. Democrats will move mountains to defeat Trump, but they will have to do it by digging into solid granite with their hands because the tool they have to move the mountain is broken. Harris is quite literally repulsive when she campaigns. Right, cringe, cringe, cringe every time she opens her mouth. And people cringe, like I said, the more you see, the less you like. What's this here? This is, I think, what is this here? The media blitz they're talking about. Let's see what this is here.
Movement. There's no movement going on here. So this is the Harris versus Trump margin. You look where we were a month ago.
This is the same clip. If I had to bet, I would bet Trump in a comfortable win, but I really don't know. That's true. You really don't know. It could go either way, especially if they try any shenanigans. Like that's why I keep emphasizing that. What I do know is that the Democrats are panicking. That is clear from their actions. The public poll do not reassure them, and their internal polls probably scare the crap out of them. I definitely agree. But y'all keep fighting, keep putting out those memes, keep calling them out on their propaganda and their bull crap. And leave your comment. Let me know what y'all think about this. Leave your comments down below. Like, share, and subscribe. Until next time, peace.